These animations were all created in Framer without writing any code. In fact, all of them utilize the same atomic animation technique, which is essentially the only thing that you need to learn in order to master no-code micro interactions on Framer websites. In this video, I'll teach you that, so you can create almost any interaction or animation in Framer. I don't even want to waste any more of your time, so let me introduce myself. My name is Nandi. This is Framer University, and let's get started. So in this video, we're going to go over a couple of sections. First of all, I'm going to talk about briefly what is this atomic animation technique. Then we're going to check out a couple of sites where we can look for inspiration to recreate these interactions and animations for practice. And then we're going to inspect the animation that we are recreating and analyze it frame by frame. And we're going to identify building blocks for the animation. So we're not going to start creating the whole thing, but we're going to just pick small parts of the animation and start creating those as components. And then, we're creating the components with different variants. And then we're going to put all of these components, these little components that we created, in one main component. And we're going to create all of the states of the animation here within this main component with different variants. So each variant will be a different state of the animation. At the end, we are going to make it interactive by adding interactions to this main component. We're just going to be connecting between these variants with interactions. So that's going to be it. I'm going to also leave a link in the description so you can remix the completed project. And let's get started. So first of all, what is this atomic animation technique? Well, I think you already kind of know what it is because I told you what we're going to do in this video. But basically, we are going to be creating an animation where we're not trying to build the whole large animation at first, but we are going to identify smaller parts, little atoms, that we can create as individual components with different variants. And then we're going to put those little atoms or little components into one main big component that will be the actual animation or interaction. And then we're going to create the different states of the animation on that main component with different variants, and we're connecting between those variants with interactions to make it interactive. So this is the atomic animation technique, and let's see where we can look for inspiration. So the first site that you can take a look at is webinteractions.gallery. It is really nice. It is curating a bunch of different hover interactions. As you can see, you can also have different categories. You can search by these hover interactions, paint transitions, horizontal scroll. So you can find a bunch of cool stuff right here, and you can just recreate them for practicing Framer animations. Then there is another site which is called designspells.com. By the way, all of these will be in the description. This is also really nice. It has, I think, a little bit more interactions and different animations. And it's not only collecting animations and interactions from the web, but also from different applications, as you can see on iPhone and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more of a general thing. So this is also a really nice site. And the third one is actually motionprimitives.com, which is not really a site that is intended for this usage, but it's just a UI kit to make beautiful animated interfaces. But I think it's also great for getting inspiration or just trying to look for different cool animations and interactions to recreate inside the Framer. So you might also want to take a look at this one. Okay, so in this video I will try to create this interaction right here. It's like a little macOS doc. It's not going to be too complex, so I just want to make sure that I give you this technique with a simple example, and that you can go ahead and create even more advanced interactions with the same technique. But I just want to make sure that it's super easy and clear to understand with this simple example. So as I said, the first thing that we have to do right here is to try to identify different little atoms within our big interaction. And just try to create these little building blocks as individual components before jumping straight into creating the main component. I think what you have to notice is that basically these little icons right here in the dock are having different sizes. They have their base size, which is like this. Then they also have a mid size, like this. And then they have the large size, which is this. So you have to like see this, but in order to see this, you might need to like go through this a couple of times. But then you're gonna see that, okay, these icons have 3 sizes. So we can already see that, okay, we can just simply create a component for this icon, and we can create 3 variants for it, and each variant will have a different size. So let's go ahead and do that. So here I am in Framer. It's a completely blank project. You're gonna find the remix link in the description, and if you remix that, you're gonna go to Pages, click Starter, and you're gonna see the exact same blank like screen that I'm seeing right here, so you can just start building with me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just draw a frame here inside of my breakpoint. It is going to be placed within this main frame that I already created. And so it is going to be 70 by 70, so the width will be 70, height will also be 70. And then I'm gonna rename this to icon. And then we're gonna change the fill. I'm gonna remove the fill actually, because it is going to be an image. So now we have to get the macOS icon. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just go to macOS icon gallery. I'm gonna also leave a link for this in the description. And I'm gonna pick an icon that I like, maybe this perplexity. And I'm gonna just copy it, or I don't know, how can I copy it? Where oh yeah, copy image. And now here I can just select the frame itself, press Command and V, and hopefully it's gonna be there. And yeah, it is right there. It's a little bit weird because we cannot really see because it's black, but yeah, it's right there. It looks perfect. Great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a component, as I said it previously. So I'm going to press Option Command key on my keyboard, but you can also just right click and create component. So this is going to be our icon component. We're going to call this small, so SM. We're going to create another variant. It's going to be called MD. So we're going to increase the size to 90. And then on the third variant, we're going to call this LG. So this is going to be the large, and it is going to be 110. So now you can see we have nice 3 sizes. What I also want to do is add a little like dot here in the bottom, because you can see that the selected app will have this little dot right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it here in the primary. So I'm going to just draw it right here and then paste it within the primary. I'm going to use these pins to position it. Basically, I'm going to press Option H and V and then Option S to pin it to the bottom part and to the center. And you can see it's a little bit large. First, let's change the color to 11. Then set 50% radius, so it's going to be fully rounded. And then I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And then also push it a little bit to the bottom. But now you can see that it's a little bit cropped right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this primary variant to overflow visible. So now this overflowing part will be visible. And you can see that it's nicely being added to all of these different variants. However, I want to make sure that it's not on all of our components, because of course here on the canvas, we're going to duplicate this a bunch of times. And I want to change the image for each icon and also this little dot on the bottom. So inside the component, we're going to create variables for these. First of all, we're going to create an image variable to be able to change the icon. We're going to call this icon. And then for the frame here, which can be renamed to circle, I'm going to add a variable for the visible property, create variable, and I'm going to name it dot. So basically, what I can do is I can select all of these different component instances and set them to no, because only one will have the dot, which is in the center, as you can see. So in total, we're going to have 5 icons. So we can just duplicate this a bunch of times. So we have 5, and then just replace the icons with different apps. So I'm going to go back to my browser and look for other icons that I like. So I'm going to copy this, then go into Framer, to the right panel, icon, and then just press Command and V. And now it's pasted. I'm going to also copy this one, paste it into Framer, copy this one as well, paste in Framer, and then lastly copy this one and paste inside of Framer. So now we have all of the 5 icons, and yeah, basically these will be our little atoms that we can nest within a main component. And on that main component, we're going to have all of the states of the final animation. So if we take a look at this, you can see that this will be a variant, 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 and this will be a variant as well. So let's quickly do that. Now, first of all, I'm going to just select all of these icon components and wrap them in a stack. The way I can do that really easily by selecting all of them. By the way, I just press down Shift on my keyboard so I can select more at the same time, and then press down Option, Command and Enter, or right click and add stack. So now as you can see, a stack has been wrapped around these icons. I can set it to a width fit content, and the height will be fixed. Then I can rename it to doc component, and I will also make sure that we have a little bit, I don't even know what gap should be used here. Yeah, so we're gonna decrease this gap to 0 actually. Yeah, it looks great. However, we are missing one element, which is this little thing in the background. So let's also create that. That will be just a simple frame. I'll press down F on my keyboard, draw a frame right here, press Command and X to cut it, and then I'm gonna select doc component frame that we've just created and press Command and V to paste it within. Here, now it's relatively positioned so I can reorder it with the other items or elements within, but I don't want to do that. I want to position it behind all of these little icons. So I have to make sure that it's absolutely positioned so I can, move it anywhere basically within this. However, you can see that these overflowing parts are not visible. So first of all, change the doc component to overflow visible. Then I'm going to make sure that these pins are set to -4 on all sides so that you can see that it's a little bit overflowing. So it doesn't have the same size as the doc component. It overflows by 4 pixels on all sides. And now as you can see, it hides like all the icons, it's on top of them. So to fix that, we just have to make sure that these icons have z-index. So on the right panel, styles z-index, I'm going to set it to a higher number. And so if they have a higher z-index, they will be essentially over other elements that have lower z-index. So z-index 2 on the icons, pretty nice. This frame can be called BG, and we can round its corners, so maybe 24. I'm going to also apply different fill color to this, maybe 6. And then border can be also applied. This will be a little bit brighter, 7. And then a little drop shadow could also be great. So the Y will be 2, blur will be 4, or maybe 4 and 8, and then 20% on the shadow. And yeah, now it looks pretty much like a little dock. So in order to create all the final states, we need to turn this into like a main component. So this dock component will be turned into a component. I'm going to right click and create component. So in the component editor view, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this first primary variant the default. So I'm going to rename it to default. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new variant. I'm going to call this first. So basically we are going to come to this variant when we are hovering the first item. This is the first state of the animation. So let's try to recreate this. As you can see, the first one right here will be large, this will be MD, and this will be small. So let's do that. This will be set to large, this will be MD, and the rest will be small. However, there's a small issue. You can see that it is staying centered right here, but I kind of want them to like be aligned to the bottom. So to do that, I'm going to go back to the default primary variant and switch the alignment here to the bottom. So now you can see it's nicely switched to the bottom alignment here as well on this other variant. So now we have created our first variant, and all we have to do is to create all of these variants for the other states of the animation. So let's quickly do a variant called 2. Here it's gonna be algae, This is going to be MD. This is going to be MD as well. Then we are clicking here, creating the third variant. And I'm just setting one to LG, and the rest is either MD or SM. This will be the fourth variant, LG, MD, small, and MD. And then the fifth variant will be the last one. Here on the right, we're gonna have LG, MD, and SM. Really nice. So now we have all of these different states of the animation, and all we have to do is to connect between them with interactions, and Framer will just smartly animate between them. So how do we connect those interactions? So essentially we can just select the trigger element. As you can see, when I hover over this icon right here, we transition into a specific variant. So the trigger element is this icon right here. So I'm going to select it, and you can see that it has a little icon right here, and I can just connect this from the icon to the first variant, and this little window will pop up right here where I can select the trigger of this interaction. So where it's gonna animate on click, click start, appear, mouse enter, or mouse leave. Now in this case, this is going to be a mouse enter interaction. So when our mouse enter this icon, it moves to a different variant or animates to a different variant. So mouse enter, and then we can just click somewhere on the canvas. And if you take a look at this and hover over, you can see how we go to that variant. Really nice. By the way, at this stage, it's really important to have all necessary elements nested within this main component that you're gonna somewhere in the animation use, even if it's not visible on the default state. So make sure to create all of your little building blocks, nest it within the main component, and have it ready at this stage. So then we're gonna click the second icon, connect from this to the second variant. By the way, what you can also do is you can select the element that you want to trigger from, press down L on your keyboard and connect that way. So I'm just connecting these to the correct variant, and we're gonna see how it looks at the end. So now I can hover over, and I can hover any of these icons, and it looks really nice. However, there's a small issue. When I leave any of these, we're not really going back to the default state. So how can we do that? Well, we can say that when we leave this complete default primary variant, we basically go back to the default primary variant. So we're going to connect an interaction from the default variant back to itself, and this is going to happen on mouse leave. So it might be a little bit weird for you. Why are we doing this? Well, because everything that you do on the primary variant is applied on all other variants, so you don't have to connect these interactions one by one on each of these variants. That's why we only had to connect these interactions as well on the little icons only here once on the primary, because then it is added right here as well. So when we hover over this right here on this specific variant, we go to variant 1, it's added here, 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 and everywhere else. And basically that's the same thing for the interaction that we've just created, the mouse leave interaction. We added it to the primary, on mouse leave we go to the default, and it's added everywhere. So if we check the first variant, you can see that mouse leave goes to default, and it's basically added on all of these different variants. So now if we preview this, you can see that I can hover over, and if I leave, we go back to default. Maybe what we can also do is we can make sure that we have pointer cursor when we hover over these. So maybe like we can click them, but of course we don't really have links at this stage, but maybe if you have, then you want pointer cursor, so you can just add it here on the right panel after selecting the default primary variant, just selecting the pointer cursor. So now we have that as well. And what we can also do is we can customize the transition of this animation. Now you can see it's a little bit maybe too fast. Here it's a little bit slower. So what I can do is I can just go here on the default primary variant, go to the right panel, transition, and change the time right here. So maybe the bounce can be 0.1, the time 0.6, Let's take a look at this. As you can see, it's a little bit too, yeah, it's actually really nice that we see this, because this shows us a little issue that beginners face many times, which is basically having not the same transition on nested components. Because when you start nesting components, you have to make sure that all of them have the same transition. Otherwise, the animation will be out of sync like this and it will look a little bit weird. So now that we set 0.6.1 here on the main component, we also have to set it on these icons. So I'm going to go within the icon component and set this transition here as well, 0.6 and 0.1 bounce. And now you're going to see that everything will nicely be in sync. And now our animation is just simply a little bit slower. By the way, if you're wondering what are these other like trigger options are, like click, appear, mouse enter, mouse leave. We talked about mouse enter, mouse leave. It's basically for these hover interactions. Appear is usually used when you want to create some sort of automatic like animation where it automatically transitions from one variant to the other. So when a variant appears on the screen, it will then move to another variant. Click and click start are basically really similar. Click transitions when you click down on your touchpad and release the click. And the click start will basically mean that as soon as you press down on your touchpad or your mouse, it will just transition to the new variant. So our final interaction on black backgrounds looks something like this. Really nice. I really do hope that this video was helpful and you were able to learn about animations inside of Framer, and I hope that now we are going to be able to create some cool little interactions for your website or animations. And yeah, make sure to also check out framer.university for other cool tutorials, remixes, components, and stuff like that. So if you're using Framer, it is probably going to be really helpful for you. So yeah, make sure to leave your questions in the comments, like this video, subscribe for more, and I'm going to see you in the next one.